Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. It's Wednesday on my show, so in the second half of the show, we'll have Singing River Health Talk. I've really enjoyed these conversations. I've gotten great feedback from regular listeners, and I hope you're enjoying them as well. This opportunity to sort of focus on various aspects of what Singing River is all about. We've had just really, really good conversations. Today, I'll be joined in the second half by Dr. Rishi Roy, who's a vascular surgeon at Singing River Health System for Singing River Health Talk. So look forward to that. We'll see that in the second half of the show. So for the first part of the show, I'm really looking forward to the conversation. My friend Robert Skrmetta, he's a commissioner with the Coastal Mississippi Tourism. His family, has a long history with the Ship Island Ferry Service. And, one of the cool things about what Robert does is he works in essentially the banking regulation area of the world, spends a lot of time crisscrossing the state of Mississippi. So he tends to go to a lot of the places I like to go, like the Mississippi Delta, for example. Takes a lot of photos because he's an amateur photographer on top of everything else. But it's good to just kind of check in with Robert from time to time. So without any further ado, let me welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show, Robert Skrmetta. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great, Ricky. Thanks for having me back on. Always enjoy these conversations as well.
Hey, listen, I wanted to thank you. You and my friend Captain Cal Johnson had a conversation, and a lot of concerns were happening with charter boat captains in general because with the threat that the Bonnet Carré Spillway might open. And I'll say this, you don't have to, but I think what's happened is I think the coalition that's focused on that from Mississippi has done a great job. But with the threat that it might open, even though it was going to be nothing like 2019, a lot of the communication that was coming out was the sky's going to fall. I mean, I'm just telling you the way that I read it and the way that the general public read it, that, the Bonnet Carré is going to be opened. It's going to be 2019 again when the comparison between what was potentially planned for Mississippi or for the Mississippi River this time and the Bonnet Carré this time was no comparison to what happened in 2019. And so what was happening is charter boat captains were getting calls, can you still fish with the Bonnet Carré still open? It wasn't even open. And by the way, it didn't open. We ended up not needing to open. But you guys had a conversation. You reached out to me. I focused on my show about it. I went on the SuperTalk network with Richard Cross and talked about it. And, of course, SuperTalk was all over it with stories about it. And we tried to manage expectations. And I think there's a lesson here that if the threat of this is, opening is going to happen, we need to be a little bit more careful about sounding the alarm so loudly because it sent a message to the general public that it was opening and that, the world's coming to an end. I hate to say it, but that's the read that people were getting. And the charter boat captains were hearing directly from their customers about it. I mean, it's very real.
Yeah. And, to that, it seems like kind of an inexperienced approach to kind of sound the alarms like that when nothing's even happened yet. We saw it there's a lot of man-made disasters that we've had to deal with over the years. And there's a good way to handle it, and there's probably a less than optimal way to handle it in my experience. And you can't get people overexcited about something that doesn't even exist. We understand the threat's real, but the spillway hadn't even opened yet, and it's not going to open, fortunately, this season.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was it so interesting about it? I made this point that, let's just say the fishing, in particular, fishing in coastal Mississippi, the way the charter boat captains might be impacted, given that they were talking about a certain number of bays on the Bonnet Carré Spillway being opened for just a short period of time. One of the things that Cal pointed out is that it would actually maybe improve fishing over here because it might push some of the specks and redfish that are in Lake Bourne and Lake Pontchartrain into our area. Now, look, the oyster reefs are going to be threatened anytime you push fresh polluted water in. Shrimp, obviously will be impacted. Dolphin and sea turtles are going to be impacted. But it wouldn't be anything like 2019. But the fishing right now has been extremely good. And, you were out at Ship Island this past weekend. the water is beautiful
Yeah.
right now. I mean, we're sitting on a string of just beautiful water, aren't we?
Right, we are, and I actually I took my mom out to the island on Sunday, and we made we rode around the whole island just to check things out. I always like to get a progress report, especially on the east end of the island, and I'm really excited to report that we have pine trees growing back on East Ship Island, where previously there was all dead pine trees. We now have one thriving pine, so the forest is making a comeback. The lagoon looked great on East Ship Island. It was filled with bait fish and crabs and just all kinds. The estuary is thriving on the islands right now. And we went out to Cat Island on Friday afternoon. It was rough as heck getting out there, but as soon as we got to the island, it was calm, and we loaded up on trout. It was a great evening, and like you said, the fishing is great right now. There was tons of a massive school of Jack Crevalle just hanging around the Ship Island dock all day Sunday. And they were chasing mullet. There's a bunch of mullet out there too, and I've said it before. You can smell these schools of fish just swimming around out there, and that's a really positive sign for the water out there. And
just to come back to kind of close this part of the conversation now, that I appreciate you and Kyle chatting and reaching out to me, and I jumped on it as quickly as I could to try to manage expectations across the state. And,
right.
At the end of the day, I think we did a pretty good job of managing expectations. And at the end of the day, it never had to open. So you actually mentioned a story. You mentioned a story related to how fast the river is falling. You mentioned a little bit about it before we started the show. Tell me more about that.
So the river levels are dropping so rapidly right now. My friend has a canoe company up in Memphis, Mississippi River Canoe Expeditions. Check him out on Instagram. But he said a boat was stolen from the Memphis harbor. Some convicts stole a boat from the harbor, and they tried to escape down the Mississippi River. The river levels were dropping so rapidly that the boat got grounded on a sandbar, and the boat was recovered and the convicts were apprehended. So that bulge in the river just kind of makes its way down the river, then it subsides. It's all based on the rain up in the northern part of the country. And we're good right now. We don't have anything to worry about for the time being, except for hurricanes that might come out of the Gulf of Mexico. But right now, the river is not a threat to the Mississippi Sound at this point in the season.
Well, listen, I taped a show with Lieutenant Colonel Sean Cross. It plays tomorrow. He's a hurricane hunter, and we had a terrific conversation. I love spending time with him. He's been doing this since 2001, man. But what was interesting about the conversation is that the sea surface temperature in the main development region out in the Atlantic is 2 degrees under what it was this same time last year, which, that 2 degrees is a lot. 2 degrees is a lot. Last year we were dealing with, extraordinarily hot conditions. Now that doesn't mean that, what that means is that maybe this neutral condition that they're expecting, combined with a little bit less high temperatures on the sea surface temperature, that it would create more of an average, maybe even slightly below average. However, we know this well. All it takes is one. So we'll be talking a lot more about the hurricane season as we get closer. That is for sure. But yeah, it was. It's interesting that we're in this mode right now. One thing I want to mention about the Mississippi Sound Coalition group, they've done a really good job in court of getting the Mississippi Sound even part of the conversation, because before the Corps could just open the Bonnie Carey Spillway without a care in the world about what's happening with the Mississippi Sound. These days, they have to consider the ecological impact, and that is a big win for them. The other thing is they're having a lot more conversations about other things that might be able to be done besides just going straight always to the opening of the Bonnie Carey Spillway, or the things they can do upstream. There's a big discussion about the Maganza and what happens with it. So I really applaud their efforts. Their efforts have been really important, especially since what happened in 2019. We just have to be focused on seeking solutions. If the ultimate solution is dig the Mississippi River deeper, or whatever they've got to do to make it so they don't have to put Mississippi Sound into the sacrificial lamb scenario every time they try to protect New Orleans when the river's high. We've got to think about those options for sure. Listen, we got less than go ahead. You go ahead. You got less than a minute.
I was going to say that the Mississippi River it's the world's largest capital generating asset, and those levees really haven't been reconsidered since the 1927 flood when the Corps put them in. They think about it, but it's really worth the national attention of investing in it for on the national level, just because it's so important to our economy, and it really can't be understated how important it is. And it's, enhancing those levees and just a part of the river could save a lot of trouble for the Mississippi Gulf Coast and Louisiana, the state of Louisiana. So let's start thinking about it.
Billions after Hurricane Katrina, and fortifying and fixing and doing the kinds of things they needed to do. But there's more that can be done going forward. That is for sure. Hey, when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Robert Skrmetta. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. Hope you're having a great day. We're joined today by Robert Skrmetta. He's actually a commissioner with Coastal Mississippi Tourism, the regional tourism effort here in Coastal Mississippi. Family has a long history with the Ship Island ferry service. And then, of course, I mentioned he's, the bank examiner. He spends a lot of time traveling the state, crisscrossing. And as an amateur photographer, he spends time taking pictures, a lot of times in the Mississippi Delta. I was up in the Mississippi Delta, in fact, this past weekend, and we were planning some summer plots and doing some other work that needed to be done up there. But man, one of the farms we had the opportunity to hunt on is known for its really, really, really bad mud. Okay, so there's mud, and there's Delta gumbo mud, and then this mud, I don't know what you would call it. It's like Delta gumbo mud times 10. But we knew we took the four-wheelers off the trailer. We started down this basically dirt road. It's a lane that cuts through a farm field. And, we weren't, 10 feet, and the mud was already 2-3 inches thick on our wheels of our four-wheelers. And we knew it was going to be tough. And long story short, we got done what needed to be done, but we had to be very creative to get it done. One of the things that's interesting, and you know this, because of the markets and the pressure on farmers today, you don't see many soybeans out there right now. You don't see much cotton at all. It's like corn everywhere. I mean, is that what you see as you drive even further than the areas where I hunt?
I see, and I don't know which particular part of the Delta you're in. It kind of depends on the region of the Delta. Of course, Bolivar County is the big rice county. They're still growing a ton of rice. Last season they were anyways. I don't know what's been planted this season. But yeah, a lot of corn. I did see some soybeans and some cotton, but I know the price of cotton in 2024 was less than the price of cotton in the 1970s, and and the price of cotton in 1919 was like $2 a pound. It was like 75 cents a pound in 2024. Those farmers can't deal with those kind of prices. They've got to get some support. And I'll add that if you go to pretty much any clothing store in Mississippi, you're going to see mostly polyester shirts, very few cotton shirts. And there should really be a statewide campaign to promote cotton clothing and wear cotton shirts. If you go to an Ole Miss or Mississippi State game or Southern Miss, all those game day shirts that the college students are wearing, they're all polyester. I think those should be cotton. There's a lot we could do as Mississippi residents to promote it in our state, and we should. It's a great industry for us, and it's kind of the king, the top of the food chain when it comes to farming. It's the most difficult to farm, requires a lot of expertise, and but it can also be very profitable.
Well, one of the farmer I visited with the other day, one of the farmers that farms the land at the Menor City property where we hunt, he pointed out that the cost of equipment, just the cost of equipment alone to harvest the cotton is so expensive. Of course, the price of soybeans is terrible. But one thing about corn is the grain that a lot of the corn that's being grown is being used for chicken feed. And as long as Sanders and Farms and all these other organizations are alive and well, I don't see chickens going away anytime soon. Then
No.
farmers are able to have at least decent pricing as it relates to the corn.
Right. And I'm okay with that because, chicken, in fact, is Mississippi's largest cash crop. I don't know if you're aware of that. We export a ton of dark meat chicken to other countries, but we keep a lot of the white meat chicken for ourselves. And it's crazy how much the world depends on chicken. And in addition to chicken, Mississippi is home to the world's largest shell egg producer, Cal-Maine Foods, right here. They're based in Ridgeland, Mississippi. So chicken's a big part of it, and if we can grow the feed and raise the chickens and hatch, and also raise the eggs, not hatch the eggs, those are the ones you want to eat. It's a win-win for Mississippi. And soybeans, kind of the bottom of the food chain when it comes to farming that. They're just easy to grow, but
yeah.
I know the grains themselves don't really hold up well in those grain bins. Corn's a little bit tougher, kind of tends to do a little bit better as far as holding its value. And that's important for our farmers in the Delta. But I think, chicken's great. I'm glad we have that. But we really need to do something. We have some of the best cotton land in the world. So that's really
there's
it's
no
a shame
doubt
if we don't put it to work.
What's going to be interesting.
That's what they want to be growing.
Yeah, something that Cindy Hyde-Smith has been focused on, and then, of course, the Ag Commissioner. And there's been a lot of discussions. I've had a show where Delbert Hoseman discussed it as well. But Mississippi farmers are in a lot of pressure. In the area where I hunt, like in the just south of Greenwood and just north of Greenwood, that's the vicinity where Delta Grain had this huge problem and went bankrupt, and a lot of farmers got stuck holding the bag on that one. And the reality of that is that you've got that situation that happened. Then on top of that, you got succeeding years where prices have been down and the price of fertilizer is up. I went to a seed place this past weekend, and he mentioned to me that some farmers were not able to get loans. That was one of the biggest issues, that farmers were concerned they wouldn't get loans. So some were not able to farm because they couldn't get the loans to be able to put their seeds in the ground, and others actually literally had to put their houses on the market, houses up for collateral, which means now they're literally betting the ranch. So it's the big farmers are doing what they're doing. A lot of the big farmers they're farming some of their land. They're leasing some of their land to buy a little bit of time because they can put money in the bank in that way, and waiting for the prices of the products to go up. One other point, I think it's going to be interesting in these trade negotiations. Some of these countries, they're blocking our farm products, and this will give us an opportunity to maybe create some new markets for Mississippi farmers. So a lot of dynamics there. I don't think the average person realizes how much of a global market it is, just like when we talk about energy and oil. It's a very dynamic situation.
It's for sure a global market, but the one advantage Mississippi has is the Mississippi River, and that allows us to really compete on a price level with countries like Brazil, who are producing a ton of soybeans. They have to transport all their soybeans to market from the field to the Pacific Ocean, where they're going to transport it out by truck, and that's extremely costly. Whereas one ship can hold, I think it's one supercarrier ship can hold 17,000 truckloads of grain. So if you get that to the river cheaply, you're going to make a lot more money, especially if prices are up that year. But you're right, we're competing on the world market, and we got to do something within our own borders to promote the American farmer, because without farmers, we got no food, and without food, you don't have a society. That's just all there is to it.
No, there's no doubt. Hey, listen, we got less than 3 minutes to go. We got Judy Young coming up, who's the executive director for Coastal Mississippi Tourism. We're going to spend a whole show with her coming up. But how's your tenure been so far?
It's been going good. I was really impressed to see that day visitors alone last year in the Mississippi Gulf Coast were 9.2 million. And they spent around $700 million, just the day visitors. The average overnight visitor spent $231, generating about $1.5 billion in revenue. And that's just the 3 coastal counties. And that's significant. And we're really proud to report that USA Today designated the Mississippi Gulf Coast as the top golf destination in the United States. And in addition to that, the golfing is supported by a great array of restaurants that are opening up. I know Austin Summerall's got his the White House Hotel, and then the Siren Club in downtown Gulfport. That place is cool. And I just like his approach. I like his style. He's got really good taste, and they've done a great job implementing things for coastal residents to go do that are just not your typical fried seafood joint, which I love those too. I love fried seafood. Don't get me wrong, but we've got to get something for our young folks to do.
Yeah, Austin's been on the show talking about what he's done at the White Pillars and how they created that spectacular restaurant. It's great. What he's done in downtown Gulfport is awesome.
Right.
That really. I mean, as you pointed out, I mean, you got to have it all. I mean, the diversified choices we have in coastal Mississippi are incredible. The number of restaurants in Ocean Springs, for example, is blow the average person's mind. But that's
Ocean Springs is just so unique. They got that hotel that's in downtown Ocean Springs. I forget the name of it, but it's really cool, really stylish. And they have the Traveler that just opened up next door. That's really cool. And if you want coffee, Ocean Springs is the place to go get coffee. There's just coffee shops everywhere. And I just enjoy my time in that part of the coastal Mississippi portfolio. But the islands I'm happy to report are better than ever. The Ship Island Snack Bar is up and open for business. We've introduced daiquiris to our offering, so coastal residents can come out there and get a daiquiri if they want to. It's not going to be limited to beer anymore. Things are just going great at Ship Island, so we're excited about this season.
I love it out there, man. I can remember, I've told you this many times before, but I remember going fishing all over the place, and we would always make the last stop to the Ship Island Pier where I'd visit with your dad, and we'd drink a beer and just enjoy being there. Your dad and I go back a long, 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 long way. But listen, we're out of time for today, but it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you, Robert.
Well, thanks, Ricky. Look forward to the next conversation.
You bet. This has been Robert Skrmetta. He's a commissioner for Coastal Mississippi Tourism, and whose family has the Ship Island Ferry Service. So a lot of history there. Have a great day, my friend. When we come back, we'll have Singing River Health Talk. We'll see you after this break.